president of Ghaziabad Toastmasters Club and a part of StartupJobIn. StartupJobIn is a dedicated job portal for Indian startups. We are trying to automate the entire recruitment life cycle for the startup employers. Our company started in September 2019. The beta version of the website was launched on 1st May 2020 on International Labor Day. Masterclass Series is a weekly learning platform to provide specific tips to recruiters, startup founders, and job seekers. JobX is about sharing the important insights for employers and candidates. Today, we are going to discuss on Fintech Opportunity to Software Engineer, how to prepare for it. Fintech is not only an enabler, but the driving engine of the financial industry. Fintech is an amalgamation of finance and technology. It is fast leading a new way to the future of the financial world. For this, it needs engineers. So the question is, what skills are needed to be fintech and how to prepare for it? To answer some of these pertinent questions, today we have Mr. Praloy Majumder, the founder and CEO of Disseminare Consulting. Mr. Praloy Majumder, a well-known expert in banking and finance, has been conducting training in the credit and risk management domain for Indian banking and other Asian countries for last 5 years. He conducts 240 days and above training in a year for last 5 years. His company, Disseminare Consultancy, provides high-quality trainings to various banks and NBFCs. He has worked as a banker and CFO in various banks and companies respectively, like Syndicate Bank, ICICI, and Alumina Software, etc. An alumni and visiting faculty of finance at Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. His course, Bank and Risk Management, is one of the most popular in IMC for last 10 years. Students from various IIMs appreciate his course. It is an honor to have Sir today on our platform. Now let's start the discussion about the very important topic of Fintech Opportunity to Software Engineer, how to prepare for it. This session is structured in two parts, 15 to 20 minutes for the speaker's talk, followed by 15 minutes for our audience to ask questions. So let's hear from our honorable speaker today. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the introduction. Let me take out through the description about the fintech, how fintech is going to emerge as in very important professions for the IT engineers, and also how the fintech is different compared to the traditional IT job. So if you look at the name, as the name suggests, the fintech is a combination of two parts. One is called the finance and technology. Now, as you know that the major revenue of the IT sector or software development comes from BFSI segment, the banking, financial, and service industry. Now, you may ask questions, what is new about fintech? Because of the simple logic is that the BFSI has always been the major revenue earner for the case of the IT company. So in that case, why how fintech is different? Now, the first question is that previously what the IT was doing, software companies were doing, they were improving the process and systems of the banks. Say, for example, your parents or people who are above 60 years of age, They are familiar with big ledgers in the counter. Now you don't see those ledgers in the bank counter. What has happened? There's a computers have come. So what does it mean? The IT was converting the many physical job into IT software system. But IT was never in the forefront of how the bank's main business would be driving. Now this fintech, the entire story started coming when the Android has accepted as an important mobile platform. At the same time, what happened? Across the globe, the internet penetration has skyrocketed. So mobile technology and internet penetration, these are the two major changes which has prompted the financial technology firms to crop up. Along with that, what has happened is that social media has also started influencing people behavior. So a new set of company came, which is called finance and technology. Coming together, it formed something called fintech. So why it is different? Now, financial technology companies, they would be as good as a bank as well as good as a technology company. So previous technology companies or software companies which were providing the IT solutions, they need not to be as good as bank. So in that case, they only try to improve the process, improve the systems, etc. of a bank framework. So if you can see, there's a basic difference of fintech as an IT company is that it should be as good as bank as well as good as an IT company. So it is quite different and it is quite difficult also, because people who want to excel in fintech, they must understand both aspects completely. One is the finance part, one is the technology part. Now, coming to the question is that how you can bridge the gap. Many of you who are working in software companies, they know that one of the major reasons of the project overrun or not even completion of large projects is the gap of domain expertise and IT expertise. So in the case of the fintech, those kind of margin of error will not be accepted, because if the company is not strong in domain and not strong in technology, they will never able to actually succeed in the case of as a fintech part. So if anyone wants to make a career in fintech company, one is the very important part you have to understand that the people who want to make a career in fintech company, they should be proficient both in finance as well as in technology. This is very, very important, because now this is becoming extremely important, because of the simple logic is that if it is not there, then we will be able to, the company will not be able to sign as a fintech company. Now, what is the prospect of fintech? Now, as per Goldman Sachs, a renowned investment bank, way back in 2015, they did predict that fintech can disrupt up to USD 4.5 trillion traditional financial market revenue. These projections have been made before COVID-19, that is way back in 2015. Post COVID-19, definitely it will increase significantly. So if we look at roughly, as per current estimate, roughly 25 to 30% of the bank revenue can flow in through fintech company. So this is becoming a huge opportunity for the new companies who wants to gain a foothold on the financial service sector. One of the important points you have to keep it in mind is that financial service sector is quite regulated. People cannot enter so easily. So what has happened, because of the regulations, because of the entry barrier, innovation was also less. At the same time, finance being the most critical part of human being, since the innovation was not there, many people could not get proper services because of the regulations, because of the lack of competition. And the worst sufferer are the people who require it most, that is the bottom of the pyramid or the poor people. So regulator, government bodies, they are also looking for some kind of solution which can break this lacuna of the system where the traditional finance player could not deliver to the promises. So what we look at, the fintech is giving some kind of hope to the regulator, to the government, that yes, fintech can solve this problem which has been existing for quite long period of time. Now, if you look at how the valuation of fintech companies are increasing, as per statistics of 1st of 2019, there are 48 fintech unicorn. Unicorn means whose valuation is more than $1 billion. So there are 48 unicorn and they valued at USD 187 billion. So if you see the market, it is one of the fastest growing market in the world, and there are reasons behind it. This market is only continue to increase in going forward, because if this particular industry can show the promise which the regulator or the government is believing it can deliver, then what will happen? In going forward, it can be a true competitor to the traditional banking industry. Having set the perspective of how the fintech is going to dominate in going forward in the financial service sector, as well as how fintech is different from the traditional IT system. So let me take you to the areas where the fintech is likely to work in the future. Now, if you see in the banking sector, many of you know the banking. Banking means taking deposits from the public and giving the money. Now, one of the very important function is that bank helps transaction. So, for example, when you go to a shop and buy some goods, you are carrying out some transactions. You are giving money and you are taking the goods. So this is a payment is involved in banking. Now, the payment based on cash is very expensive. Second part is that many people are excluded from it. So that is an important issue, that if payment can be made digitally, then it can solve a lot of problems. So a segment where the fintech is really impacting is called payment. So if you look at it right now, roughly 25% of the fintech companies are working in this space. So right now, payment is one of the most important areas where the fintech is operating. Let us give an example. When you make example of a successful payment venture in India is Paytm. So what has happened? Paytm is allowing you to make a payment. So that is why the Paytm is a payment company. So payment is an area where fintech is working. Similarly, if you look at when you go to a shop, you need not to swipe your card. If you give the QR code on your mobile, immediately transaction happens. So there are some fintech is working where it is facilitating the payment transaction. So payment is the most important areas right now where fintech is working. Next is loan underwriting. As you know that countries like India and other South Asian countries, one of the major problems is that the organized and high-paying jobs are not there. Let us take the case of India. In the case of India, around 40% of the people in the age group of 15 to 64. Why 15 to 64? This is an employable age group. So 15 to 64, 40% people are self-employed. Another 15% are on contract worker. So what we can say, 65% of the people in the age group of 15 to 64, which is employable workforce, are into the self-employed or contractual part. So those who are self-employed, the funding is very important, because if they don't get fund properly, then what will happen? They will not be able to grow. Now, these are called micro, small and medium enterprises. So people who are self-employed, So these are called micro, small, and medium enterprises. Micro, small, and medium enterprises has not been getting fund from the banking system because of the logic is that bank feels that they are risky, whereas these promoters, they are not very highly educated, or they may not recruit quality people because of the cost pressure. So they don't know how to prepare the document. So when the bank can evaluate this borrower correctly and give loan at a faster pace, this process is called loan underwriting. So what is the loan underwriting? The process by which bank evaluate the creditworthiness of a borrower, and the creditworthiness of a borrower means that when the bank gives the money will come back. This is called the process called loan underwriting. Now, loan underwriting is a very, very crucial part of a developing economy. Unfortunately, banks are not able to underwrite the loan properly, and that is why the NPA is going up in one hand, other side the credit flow is not happening. And since the credit flow is not happening, the micro, small, medium enterprises are facing huge problem. As per a committee called e-KYC committee, they have evaluated the credit shortage or the fund shortage in the micro and small enterprise is 27 lakh crore. So as of today, I'm not talking about what will happen in future. As of today, that is prior to COVID, 27 lakh crore is shortage of fund is there. So we can see there's a huge opportunity of the loan underwriting would be there, where fintech can help the bank to select a borrower and evaluate a borrower in a more appropriate manner. Day before yesterday, both in mainland China and in Hong Kong, Ant Financials have filed paper for initial public offering. Ant Financial is a fintech arm of Alibaba. So this is one of the largest IPO which is likely to happen in Hong Kong and mainland China. So what does it mean? This Ant Financial is into two parts, payment as well as loan underwriting. So the opportunity of loan underwriting, where the fintech can help the bank to underwrite a loan, because fintech are better positioned to analyze the data. So those are the other area where there's a fintech can actually flourish. Next is that trade finance. Now, when the trade finance take place, people are situated at different parts of the world. So it's involved huge documentation process because of the regulatory compliance. So there can be a process where multi-level verifications are there. Whenever there's a multi-level verifications are there what happens under such situations, since there are more parties, more time is taken. So in the trade finance area, the entire process can be shortened significantly by using the fintech applications, which is called blockchain applications. So by using the blockchain, the trade finance also where the areas the fintech can work. Now, as all of you know, that when you go to open a bank account, now in that case, what has happened? The bank asks Aadhaar, then PAN, etc. These are called KYC document or Know Your Customer document. A fintech can help a bank to smoothen the process of account opening. For example, voice KYC. Suppose what can happen is that, suppose when you go to the bank and they ask for your verification, the bank is using a software which is prepared by fintech. Now, the moment you give your Aadhaar number, immediately what will happen? The Aadhaar authentication will take place, and through video, the e-KYC would be verified. So what does it mean? I need not to go to the bank to open an account. So account opening can significantly be streamlined with the help of the fintech. Next part, if I look at it, called risk management. Nirav Modi has swindled significant amount of rupees of the Indian banks. Similarly, a lot of people are taking out money from the banking system by committing frauds. Now, fraud follows a pattern. Since for fraud follows a pattern, so if we can capture the proper data and with the help of the technology, we can find out the pattern so we can detect fraud quite in advance. So this is called risk management. A risk management means whenever with the help of a technology, we can reduce the risk of the bank of incurring losses. That is called risk management. So in the case of the risk management, fintech can play a very important role. Now, last but not the least is the private wealth. Suppose, for example, I have some amount with the bank. Now, bank collaborate with the fintech company, and the fintech company on daily basis, real-time basis, can give me an advice. Okay, you can buy this stock, you can buy this bond, etc. So this is called robo-advisory. Robo-advisory means software by processing my profile, my investment, as well as taking input from the market. They can give the recommendation that which one is better for me, and accordingly what it can happen, I can actually execute that trade. So there are other areas also like cryptocurrencies where fintech can play a very important role, like Bitcoin and etc. So these are the areas where fintech can play a very important role in the case of the going forward. In some cases, this can be revolutionary also. Why revolutionary? Because it can change the system of the traditional banking. Now we have to wait and watch that how this things work. Now, what is the timeline? How the fintech will adopt to these different functions of the banking? Now, payment is a starting point. So across the globe, wherever the fintech has flourished, they have flourished with the payment. If you go back to 2008, there's a service provider called M-Pesa, where the actually fintech started. With Vodafone, with the mobile company in Kenya, they started this M-Pesa. Because Kenyan population was not having a bank account. So how to overcome this problem? So they started with the M-Pesa. So that is where the payment and technology collaborated together. Similarly, in India right now, major fintech collaboration is going on the payment side. So when you make a payment, what happens is that you pay through Razor Pay, PayU. If you can look at it, around 4 years back, you used to pay something called Citrus. Now Citrus is not there because it has been taken over. Now you see, last 1.5 years, something called Razor Pay has started doing it. Because why? Because this is the payment companies. Previously, you have to swipe the card. Now, because of the COVID-19, now contactless, the credit card has come. So you need not to swipe it. You can just put it in front of it. And by that way, the credit card requires a swipe machines or some kind of hardware. But the same thing can be done through mobiles also. So when you do it in mobile, you just scan a QR code and immediately payment can take place. In fact, China has revolutionized the payment system with the help of the mobile and QR code. So the payment is the starting point of fintech adoption to the banking, and which is already started happening in India in a big time. Next natural progression comes is called lending. That means how the bank would be collaborating with fintech and judge this borrower is creditworthy borrower, so I can lend. So this is called the lending. So that means the next part will come called lending. Next is the trade finance. So as we become mature, so we'll become into trade finance, where blockchain application would be there, then risk management, and then private wealth. So if you look at it, the fintech progression across the world will generally take place this route, but it can also happen parallelly. However, even if it is happening parallelly, the major focus would be in this trend. So that's why today, the major funding goes to payment companies. Now, after some point of time, major funding will go to the lending company, and then it will go to the trade finance company. So if you see the growth prospects will happen like this. So this is the natural progression of the fintech across the world would be there. Now, when you talk about this part, the very important that you need strong domain knowledge. It's very clear. Without a strong domain knowledge, you cannot be an expert in fintech industry. Because why? Because the fintech as the industry demands, you need both domain and the IT knowledge. Now, on the IT side, you need to have expertise on R and Python. And also, in the case of the specific job, specific kind of skill sets are required. For example, in blockchain solidity, expertise is required. For payment gateway, what we require, Angular, then Java, etc. is required. So if you look at in IT, these are the R and Python is required for the case of data mining. So these are the new skill set which is required for the people who want to excel in the financial service sector or fintech sector. So the very important point you have to understand, all this would be built up around domain knowledge. If you don't have a domain knowledge, even if you try to build it, you may get opportunity initial period, but after some point of time, it will be extremely difficult to proceed further. Because the simple logic is that because fintech is actually solving the bank problems and trying to become a neobank. Sometimes fintech companies also called neobank, a neobank. So that's why the skill set what we require in the language side are Python, Solidity, and also Java. Now next comes in that what are the statistical part, or what are the core subject knowledge is required. Data science that is required. Because why? Because the uniqueness of fintech is that they can analyze a lot of data, and from the data they can derive meaning which is meaningful. So that's why you need to have a knowledge of data science. And there is something called machine learning. Now you hear this word called machine learning. Now what does machine learning says? A machine learning says that a machine finds out a pattern. From the pattern, it tries to find out models. And after finding out the models, it can recommend that if the same situation happens in future, what would be the possible outcome? That is called machine learning. Now, how it is superior to human learning? Now, human brain can process a particular combinations of or particular set of data at a given point of time. Machine does not have that limitations. Now, there is many people may say that machine learning, whatever you do, ultimately human judgment. No, it's not correct, because it is proven beyond doubt. Around 2 years back, there was a chess that is called Go chess. A Go is a special chess which the Korean play. Now, the Go champion has actually played a chess with a supercomputer which is prepared by the Alphabet, which is the owner of Google. So there was a match where the world champion in Go, he was defeated by a supercomputer. Now, why it is very important? This is a path-breaking case where it is proven beyond doubt. Machine can derive much better than human being if the data is given properly. And since the Go chess is not linear, normal chess is linear, but Go chess is not linear. So it is proven beyond doubt, even the machine can think beyond linear. So it's very clear that if the proper data is fed in the machine, they will do much superior services compared to the human brain. Now, what we are talking about? We are talking about lending, we are talking about trade finance, we are talking about financial transaction. So at the same time, there is a lot of data is flowing in because of digitalization, because of the social behavior, etc. So if we can feed in data properly, so the machine will be able to detect and pattern, and they can throw much superior result to the bankers. So what does it mean? Previously, banker may not be knowing that Praloy or Mihier, whether they are creditworthy or not. But going forward, because of the data and because of the machine learning, the banker would be more confident of lending because they can be easily found out with a very high degree of accuracy that, okay, loan cannot be given to Praloy, but loan can be given to Mihier. So this is very important. That is, the machine learning is playing an important role. Similarly, what you look at artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is suppose natural intelligence is there, but natural intelligence can be increased significantly by doing something called artificial intelligence. Examples, if you look at it. When people create a vaccine, some people across the globe is trying to do the COVID-19 vaccines. What they try to do, they find out virus and they try to create antibodies. And then they try to simulate T cells. So from the T cells, what will happen? So from antibodies as well as T cells, they try to actually prevent new viruses actually. So what they're doing, they're taking the memory of the normal virus. And around that memory, they try to create a new set of viruses. And also they try to create new set of antibodies to see that how they will be fighting against the actual viruses. So this is they're creating artificial intelligence. They're using the artificial intelligence. Whatever the intelligence available, they increases manyfold by creating simulations and others so that they get a desired result. So artificial intelligence is trying to create new scenarios that whether this can lead to that other. Say for example, somebody is committing fraud. People have found out, okay, somebody has committed fraud. There's a pattern. Now, in future, what can happen? People can use artificial intelligence to generate, okay, if this is a pattern, that can be new pattern can happen. So based on the new pattern can happen, people can find out if there is a transactions, there can be a chances of fraud can be on the higher side. So that is why what he called artificial intelligence is also playing an important role in the case of the fintech part. So these are the new areas where you require this skill set. For the sake of repetitions, again I reiterate, whatever you build up, you must know the domain knowledge, because if you don't have a domain knowledge, you will not be going beyond a particular point, because the fintech people always expect that it should be a parallel to the banking solution. Now let us take a case study, how it can work. Say for example, I run a small business, self-employed business. If I know a small business, if I go to the bank is not giving me the loan. Why? Bank has said that, okay, in the past people have taken a lot of money by saying that they are doing good business, but ultimately it has to find out as a fraud. So what has happened? Now bank collaborate with a fintech and then come up with a solution. What is a come up with a solution? Suppose there is a fintech company which can analyze news feeds. Now, when you use the news feed, they use some natural language processing. So through natural language processing, they can pick up some words and then they can use machine learning to actually find out whether this word indicates some riskiness or not. So through news analytics, what has happened? We have found out, this is a real case actually. You see, there is a lot of news comes in every day. There is a news report has published in the month of February 2020. The maximum amount of GST fraud is happening through Delhi. It is an official document. So if a bank is situated in Delhi and they collaborate with a fintech company, whoever comes for application, they can use that fintech services to find out whether that entity is committing fraud or not. How? That fintech company has created a software which can read news reports, and from the news report it can find out a pattern, and this pattern with a high degree of accuracy can be predicted by using machine learning that, okay, there's a high possibility of fraud is there. So once there's a high possibility of fraud, the software itself will tell what is the next course of action. So this will help the bank to find out the fraud well in advance, and if people those are not fraud, immediately they can get a loan. So this is the use case where the bank can collaborate with the fintech. They can analyze the news which is happening on real-time basis to detect whether fraud is not. Now this was not even, people have not imagined around 3, 4, 5 years back. So even people did not imagine that the way it will move in. In one side, digitalization is happening. Another side, social media behavior is there, mobile is there. So we can use these facilities, and at the same time the data processing capacity has increased significantly because of new technology, because of the cloud, etc. So this has created an ecosystem where fintech will increase. Now what will happen? Based on that data, this fintech company will tell the bank that, okay, this customer is low risk, medium risk and high risk. What does it say? If it's a low risk, probability of NPA is X%. Suppose if it's a low risk, it says that, okay, if there's a low risk, the probability of NPA would be 1%. NPA means bad loan. If something is high risk, NPA is 10%. Now, what fintech company can also go to the extent and telling the bank, okay, if it exceeds more than 1%, I will buy that loan. It is very much possible. So the bank which is afraid of giving a loan, they may go collaborate with the fintech company. And if fintech company can process the data properly, there's no reason why fintech company's calculation or prediction would not be accurate. There's no reason why it not be accurate. So we can see in 3-4 years down the line, fintech company will say that to the bank, okay, I am giving you wherever the borrower comes in, you collaborate with me, I will tell whether the borrower is low risk, high risk, medium risk. If it's a low risk, the NPA will not exceed this amount. And if it exceeds that amount, then I will buy the NPA. So this can help a problem where the banks are apprehensive of lending, whereas the fund is required in the economy to grow. So this is an example of how fintech can help in the lending process. So you can get an idea that how fintech is shaping up in the traditional banking. And believe me, this would be a big time change in the banking sector is coming. Now, across the globe, people have accepted that yes, fintech is going to change the banking. Now, somebody says that around 20 years down the line, the entire banking will move towards fintech. Somebody says that no, banking and fintech will actually coexist. But one thing for sure, this is the new area where a lot of job would be created, provided the people are properly skilled. Now, this is about the opportunity of the fintech. I'll give you the brief overview on that. Now I will open up the session for question and answers.
If anybody wants to ask a question, you can unmute and ask the question. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah. Hi. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
So here's my question, sir. You were consistently talking about the domain knowledge,
Correct.
the learning part, the Python, R, and all these things. So, but when a normal person goes to company, what they really ask is, it's not really these Python, or they are more concerned about data structures and algorithms. There's nothing like, no one cares that you know machine learning or not. So, I'm just a little bit confused right now. What should be the step right now? Because I saw that you were telling about opportunities and how can a software engineer get a job there. That's why I entered.
Yeah, if you look at it, you see, the fintech is a relatively new, isn't it? So many people have not yet shaped out that how the fintech will shape out, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, since it's a relatively new, so what is happening? People may be asking for data structure. Why? Because majority of the job is now coming on the data structure, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But the question is that just knowing data sector will not help you to get the output, because there the output is that you are trying to replace a bank.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to replace a bank without a domain knowledge, you will not be getting a meaning of what the data structure will provide. So right now, they may be working for the back-end side, but after some point of time, what will happen? People will ask that if somebody knows data structure as well as the domain, they can make it much more efficient meaning of the domain part, the data structure part. Because one thing we have to keep it in mind, which you have correctly pointed out, is that I am repeatedly telling domain expertise. Why? Because people expect from fintech company, not a normal IT company. Because otherwise, it's a normal IT company like the big four, TCS, Wipro. They used to do the banking for quite long period of time. But they don't expect it should be a normal IT company. It should be expect that yes, it would give a solutions which will be competing to the bank. So that's why it's possible right now. People are taking the data structure, but after some point of time, it will not. If you say look at it, previously people used to ask C++, etc. knowledge. Now nobody asks that, isn't it? And in the past also people asking for a lot of coding. Now the people say that okay, coding is fine, but a lot of coding has been automated, isn't it? So that's why very important is that going forward, there's no escape from it, because unless you understand the domain, because the expectation of the customer is much different here. So that's my answer to your question. Yes, people may be asking today, but in future, after some point of time, definitely they will be focusing on domain.
Another question, sir.
Yes, please.
I joined it, so So I am assuming that this is from the fintech itself, like the fintech side only. So I just want to ask, do you like hire people for who specialize in machine learning or data science?
Yeah, there is a lot of demand is there in the market.
Okay, and how can how can I apply here?
Okay, now look at it. First of all, I'll tell you suggestions to do that. You can search who are the fintech companies working in India. Get the lot of list. And from that, what you can find out, if you have expertise, then you can actually, these are the hot topic actually. If you say you know the data science and etc., immediately you'll get a call. But whether you are actually knowing it or not, in the interview it will be proven. So the way of suggestion is that you can list down the fintech companies in India. Roughly around more than 300 fintech companies are there.
Okay.
So you can find out the list, and then you can say that these are the areas what you have expertise, and immediately generally they call us because there's a requirement of the people are there. So this is, I can tell you this is a very the way you can approach.
Okay, so what is the expectation of the people hiring? Like what should I do at least that I would get a job with there? I'm just
Question is that you see in India job market is such that there is a lot of skill sets are required, but the skill sets are not available. On the other side, job is not available. So that's the point. So in that case, what we can do is that you have to identify that what are the, let's say for example, I've told you people are looking for Python and R and also the data science. So if somebody knows Python, R and data science proficiency, there's a lot of people are calling. So that's why I don't know whether you'll get a job or not, but if you have a proficiency, definitely you'll get a call. Yes. And startup jobs will help you to get that call. Is it correct, Mihier?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay, so now I have this question.
Yeah.
Like right now, as like many nations, they started and many banks, they started correcting artificial intelligence with their to whom they have to give the credit. So, there are a lot of views that there are also like racial biases and everything that has happened. And now many government, they are opposing it. So will that affect the growth of the industry? Will it delay it?
If you ask me, no, absolutely not. Now, if you see, you can use any system or technology for good as well as bad purposes. So what you can do, definitely if regulator can prove, yes, some bias is happening, regulator can take an action. But definitely it will not slow down the process because of the simple logic is that, because we cannot move away from this accepting new realities because it is proven beyond doubt, as we have mentioned about the Go experiment, is that machine can evaluate much better than human brain. So if that is the case, now in this case, machine is used for wrong purposes. So regulator can actually say that, okay, you cannot reject a proposal based on caste bias basis. But definitely machine will give better result on that, correct? Now there's a debate about facial technology, correct? Now data monitoring. You see, those people who have monitored the phone, correct? Those people who have monitored the phone, in that case, what has happened? Those people who have monitored the phone, those countries have been able to contain pandemic much better way. Because contact tracing is an important part, correct? Now, many people say that contact tracing is infringing privacy. Yes, possible. People can actually do the contact tracing and privacy. In that case, technology is not inferior. The user of technology is for bad purposes. So my view is that if people are doing it, yes, that is possible, but it will not slow down the process because why the regulation will come.
Any other question?
Any other questions any people are having?
Good evening, sir. I have
Good evening.
one question.
Yes, please.
So, banking sector is going through stress now, maybe because of high NPAs. We already had the corruption charges against this, and now this post-lockdown moratorium period is about to end. Then the banking industry as a whole looks in a bit challenging situation.
Absolutely.
What are your views on this particular aspect, and how an individual, I'm not talking from the perspective of a software engineer, but as an individual, we can we can safeguard our interest?
No, first of all, if you look at it, banking sector is really at present is an unprecedented challenges, no doubt about it. And if you ask me, it's basically a huge challenges. And yes, there are possibilities that some banks may fail also, which has happened to Yes Bank and PMC Bank. That is possible. But question here is that now banking is crucial. There's no doubt about it. So in that case, if there's an NPA and bank cannot lend, that is not the way out. That will not take us anywhere. Now we have to lend. If we lend, NPA may go up. That's a separate story altogether. But not lending because of high NPA is not an option. It's very simple. So in that case, you have to lend. And when you are lending, you should also ensure that the account does not turn an NPA. So that's a quite challenging task. People may ask, in the past, we could not do it. In future, how could we do it? There comes the financial technology firms. If you look at it, the chief economic advisor, RBI governor, everybody is talking about you use data analytics. And you use the fintech firm to improve your risk management. Why they are telling? Because there's a data is available, weapon is there. So with that weapon, you can actually lend. Now, it may be possible that bank may not listen also. It's different story altogether. Bank may not listen. But my view is completely clear, and I'm very clear about it. Without lending, Indian banking system cannot move out of these situations. Now, question to the individual investors' money. For all your informations, that your money is safe up to 5 lakhs of rupees. There's an insurance called DICGC. They give 5 lakh rupees per bank. So it's not per account, so per bank. Now, how does it mean it's safe? Now, it means that if the bank collapses, in that case, what will happen? You will get the money, not immediately, but after a certain point of time from an insurance agency called DICGC. Now, it is expected that Goldman Bank will not be allowed to fail. Is expected because it can have a serious repercussion in the market. That's why you'll be seeing after the Yes Bank episode, the deposit of Government Bank has skyrocketed. So yes, Government Bank NPA may be high and everything is fine, but Government Bank will not be allowed to fail because it will have a major problem in the economy. So that's why what he says is absolutely correct. You pointed out, yes, very challenging time, and you need some innovations to move out of it. And second is that, okay, if you put the money in Government Bank, I don't think there is a problem. Private bank, I can't guarantee.
So I have one more question that
Yes,
fintech is going to automate many processes which
Correct.
are right now done through manual way.
Correct.
Now, banking sector as a whole is one of the largest employers.
Correct.
It employs good amount of people. Do you see some sort of push coming from the government on the opposite direction, where the job losses will be there if the fintech automation is there on a very large scale? And also, we have a very large government sector banks operating in this manner, and they are not comfortable with technology and IT and all this stuff. So there's a push and pull with these two forces are also colluding with each other.
Correct.
So this automation activity might take longer period. Is this assumption correct?
So one of the very important point that people have to realize is that the only long term, only one thing that will determine whether the economic growth, and you see, first of all is that we have to grow very fast to make the people out of the poverty. There's no denying of the fact. If you don't grow fast, the people will not come out of the poverty. This is one. Second is that when you grow very fast, income inequality will also increase. Nobody can deny it. But income inequality, even if it increases, but still it will take the people out of poverty. Now, if you don't grow, income inequality will not increase, but people will be remaining in the poverty. But in real life, you cannot have best of the both. So growth has to take place. And one thing is proven beyond doubt, the long term, only thing which will determine is the improvement in productivity. There's no other factor. In long term, improvement in productivity is the only determining factor whether poverty will reduce or not. Now, if you look at it, yes, people may resist of the fintech side, but without that, productivity will not increase. So here is very important. The productivity increase should be the goal of any country if they want to come out of the poverty. Now, developed economy versus developing economy, productivity of developing economy is 20% of the developed economy. And that is one of the reasons why developing economy is poor. So you have to increase the productivity. Now the question is that when you have to increase the productivity, there can be resistances. But it is expected that the younger people which is coming in the job, they may not resist the digital part because why? They are already accustomed to it. Already silent changes in behavior is happening. So resistance would be there from some people who want to do the status quo. I will tell about the people of 40 to 60. These people may resist. But the people below 40 may not resist at all. Because why? They will be more comfortable on that. Now, yes, there would be resistance because of things. But after a certain point of, it can actually delay the process, the pace it should have picked up. But the delay will not be as long as it used to be around 10 years back. So that is my take. But one thing is very clear, unless we adopt it, our productivity will never increase and poverty will not come out. And it's very simple, and productivity has to be increased.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I have this question.
Yes.
The people who are from finance background, should
Correct.
they also learn some kind of programming?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Now this is, you see, who can pick up first? That's a very important point. Suppose somebody who is working in a bank, age is 35. If he doesn't know the programming, how he can understand that what software in fintech is creating? He may be in a position to negotiate with a person that, okay, somebody is giving this news analytics. Now he selected wrong vendor is not delivering. Because of that, the bank's competitor has actually forged ahead. This guy will lose the job. So definitely he should know some kind of programming. There's no doubt about it. So the bankers need to know programming. People who are in the IT want to make a career, they need to know banking. It's very simple. Previously, it was doing by business analyst kind of role that can work in IT, but not in fintech.
And this one question I also have in mind, in future, when the blockchain, it will disrupt the financial industry, like it will. And so as an engineer who maintains this blockchain flow, like when that career can start here in India, like what is the future of blockchain in India?
So right now, the blockchain is widely applied in trade finance, supply chain finance. It has started working big time. So there's a big area. It has already started working. Apart from that, KYC, government document, especially when we go for the immobile properties, like a property document. Property document, there's a lot of problems of property fraud can happen. Blockchain can prevent that. So already it has started and it will increase the pace.
So we can take a last question if
Yes, please.
anyone. Okay, so I guess this was the last question. Anybody wants to add something? Yes.
Yeah, hi Mihier. I mean, just to add on to the great points which Praloy Majumder sir mentioned, there are a lot of disruptions happening in the market as we speak. And it's not only those 6 areas which Praloy sir spoke about, there are multiple other areas as well. Because of the stringent timelines, we could not speak on most of the other points. But there are areas where the innovation and technology is actually bringing a disruption. And why I'm using the word disruption, because it is normal, not the normal change which we have seen with emergence of new technologies. It is completely changing the way business is being done. The last question which you had asked about blockchain, right? I think we all understand that blockchain and cryptocurrency are 2 different things altogether. Where cryptocurrency is just a use case of blockchain, right? So with the emergence of technologies like blockchain, a major element of trust, mistrust, I would say, which was there in the economy, in the systems, right? Where we could not trust and we needed an intermediary, a middleman to make the transactions happen. For example, if you're sending money from one geography to the other geography using money reimbursement policy or something else, you needed a member who was in the middle, sitting in the middle and then doing all the stuff. And it was not just one person or one bank. It was a collaboration of multiple banks coming into play, multiple agencies coming into play to make your transaction happen. And they also charged a tariff for commission for doing that. Right. So with technologies like this, not only things are secured, they are also made quite fast. Because now it is not people who are deciding it. It is a technology which is deciding the pace of the transaction and also the trust factor. So that's why blockchain is also called as trustless system. It doesn't need human beings to trust anyone else. You can trust the system altogether and the system will try to curate trust for you through the way it works. So I think the way it has changed, and if you look at the history of technology, right, there are a lot of requirements in the society. For example, there was a knowledge gap. Then we had the press. We had the issue of distance. So internet came in, right? So these are all major disruptions. Now, today's day, we have the major problem of mistrust, because trusting is a little difficult task in today's transactions. So that is being replaced by this technology called blockchain. So it is not only having its application in financial world, but it has gone beyond that. There are a lot of different fundraising companies, right, who are using blockchain to raise funds, because it has an automatic mechanism where if fund is not transferred, it goes back to the person who has funded. So it actually brings in a lot of smart contract mechanism. Things can be automated in different nodes. So you have huge prospects in all this emerging technology, be it analytics, be it blockchain, and even chatbots, right? You might have seen the application everywhere. I mean, the time you wasted in talking to people, getting your answers clarified, everything is now happening at the click of a mouse. You just open a chatbot and you type in your question, you get the immediate answer. Even they provide the link. You click on that link, your problem is being solved. So that is a uniqueness of the technology we have today, right? So it's completely disruptive and completely aligned with Praloy sir mentioned. It's going to change the way we work big time. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you so much. And like I would say that it was the best 1 hour that I have spent, and truly I learned so much as a fresher, as who is going to enter into the job market as software engineer. I learned so much. So thank you everyone, and thank you Praloy sir for this great masterclass and to discuss on this important topic, to share the knowledge on this important topic of fintech for software engineering. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Praloy sir. Thank you.
Thank you.